Hey guys, welcome back to the Golang with Postgres project series. So this is going to be a shorter video. We'll just be working on this models file. So I will call it books.go. And this will obviously belong to package models because that's how the Golang naming convention goes. The name of the folder is also the name of the package models. Package models. And when you import this package into your other files like main.go file, it'll be very easy because you'll be able to import the package directly. And this could have had multiple files and all would have belonged to the package models, okay? And we can import our package gorm.io/gorm. And here is where we'll define our books struct. It will have, what all can it have? It can have ID, and then it'll have an author, title, and a publisher. Now there are a few things that you need to look at. So one is obviously that you have to define this as integer, and everything else will be a string. Okay. And here, now I have the Gorm documentation open with me. With Gorm, what you can do is you can say something like this, Gorm, and you can define your primary key. So you can say primary key, right? And there are many such things that you can do with this Gorm keyword. So feel free to take a look at the Gorm documentation and check out all the different type of keywords that you can use. So I'm using primary key here, but it's your homework to check out different types of other keys that you can set here, right? So just a hint, you can also set indexes on particular fields, right? So this is what the Gorm keyword allows us to do. And there's one more thing that it allows us to do. We can also say auto increment, right, for the ID. In JSON now, it will appear like this, ID. Okay. Whereas author will appear like this, author. And title will be JSON title. And here it will be publisher. Got it. So in this database, right, when the database, the data is created, the ID will be created by the by Gorm or by the database itself. Okay, these three other things, author, title, and publisher, is what we'll have to send. Right. This is why we mentioned auto increment, because the ID is something that will be created by Gorm or the database. Because the first ID will be 1, then it will be second, third, and so on. Whereas author, title, and publisher is something that we have to provide when interacting with the API. Okay, and this is also the reason why this doesn't have a star and these all are pointers. And then I'll need a function here for migrating. So Gorm gives me the ability to auto migrate, in the sense with MongoDB you don't have to do this. With MongoDB, you're able to easily create databases, easily create connections and databases and all that. Whereas with Postgres, to start with, you need to have that database if you want to interact with it, right? It doesn't automatically create it. So you can use auto migrate function to do that. So the function that will contain the logic for auto migration will be called migrate books. And using this function, basically this function is the one that I can interact with from my other files. I'll pass db to it, which is of type gorm.db, right? Gorm being this package that we're talking about, and db being a variable or an argument to this function of type gorm.db. This function can return an error, and the main line here, the main thing that which is going to be the heart of this function, is basically db.auto-migrate. Now we already know that db is of type gorm, right? So gorm.db is something that we can access here, and that gives us, Gorm gives us access to this function called auto-migrate. Feel free to check it out. I mean, I recommend that you check it out in the Gorm documentation. It's a very common thing. I've used it in many other videos, like even with working with MySQL and all, we've used this auto-migrate function. very commonly used with Postgres as well, right? Because you have to have that database to be able to talk to it. It's not like MongoDB where even if you don't have the database, you talk about the database and MongoDB will create it for you. With Postgres, you can't do that. You have to have that database. So this creates that database for you with, empty data. As you can see, it's an empty struct. Okay. So this is where I leave this video, and in the next video we'll talk about the storage package, and then we have just a couple of things left with main.go file, and then we are done. Okay, so I'm just keeping it short and simple and sweet, and in just a couple more videos we'll be done with the series.